The knee jerk specifically. So when you hit your patellar ligament, that causes the quadriceps femoris or your patellar tendon or ligament to stretch, and that is going to activate your sensory receptor. In this case, your sensory receptor is called the muscle spindle stretch receptor. It is sensitive to stretch in the muscle. So it's a mechanoreceptor. Mechanoreceptors are sensitive to stretch. And then that is going to be activating your sensory neuron. And this is through sensory transduction. So the stimulus is the hitting of your patellar ligament, stretching it. And then that goes to your receptor potential, which is your muscle spindle stretch receptor, and that causes greater potentials to happen. And then action potentials are carried out through your sensory neuron, and that's through your femoral nerve. Your femoral nerve is carrying out that sensory information. And so that's going to travel up through the spinal root, through the dorsal root. Dorsal root is always sensory, and it's going to bypass the cell body at the dorsal root ganglion, and it's going to come into the dorsal gray horn. When it enters the dorsal gray horn, it's going to integrate with this motor neuron. The cell body of the motor neuron is located in the central nervous system. Integration always happens with gray matter, and that's located on the inside of the spinal cord. That is going to be an EPSP because you're exciting the muscle. You're trying to excite something to make something happen. So this interaction is a monosynaptic reflex, and it's going to carry its action potential out the ventral gray horn, which is here, through the ventral root, out the spinal root. Once it exits the spinal root, it is now a femoral nerve, carrying out the information back down to your motor neuron, or to your muscle through your motor neuron. And the effector is your skeletal muscle, which is your quadriceps femoris, via your femoral nerve. That's going to cause a response by contracting these muscles. So you're stretching it, and then you're going to contract it back, and that's going to extend that leg at the knee joint, and that's the response. You also have another portion of the sensory neuron right here, and that's going to activate an interneuron. This interneuron's purpose is to inhibit the hamstrings from contracting. So you have one interneuron, so you have two synapses. That's going to be your polysynaptic reflex. Between the interneuron and the motor neuron is an IPSP. IPSP is inhibiting something from happening. In this case, it's your hamstring. So I dot the line. It exits out your ventral root, through your ventral gray horn, through your ventral root, out the spinal root, and then it goes via your femoral nerve to your hamstrings, and it's going to inhibit the contraction so that movement can happen.